She told him their love was over and offered him a job as her gateman. But little did Patricia know that Lawrence would one day own everything she worked so hard to build. Lawrence wiped sweat off his forehead as he pushed his wheelbarrow loaded with goods for a customer at his market. Despite the scorching Abuja sun, he smiled because he had a purpose: to ensure Patricia, his girlfriend, finished her university education. Patricia was studying mass communication at the University of Abuja, and Lawrence's small earnings went into paying her tuition, buying her textbooks, and occasionally giving her some pocket money. Patricia appreciated his efforts, but she sometimes wished their life wasn't so hard. "Lawrence, don't you ever think about doing something bigger?" she asked one evening as they shared a plate of suya by the roadside. Lawrence chuckled. "I'm doing this for us, Patricia. Once you graduate, things will get better. I'm not giving up on us." Patricia smiled and held his hand, though deep inside, doubts crept into her mind. After years of hustling and sacrificing, the big day finally came. Patricia graduated with honors, and Lawrence was there, proudly cheering from the crowd. As she threw her cap into the air, she looked down and saw Lawrence clapping enthusiastically. He had worked tirelessly to see this moment happen. "Lawrence, we did it," she exclaimed, hugging him after the ceremony. "No, Patricia, you did it. I'm proud of you," he replied, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Little did he know, this was the beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. Patricia's National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, posting took her to Lagos. It was a bittersweet moment for Lawrence as he waved goodbye at the motor park. "Take care, my love. Remember, I'll always be here for you," he said. "I'll call you every day," Patricia promised. But as weeks turned into months, the calls became less frequent. Patricia was busy adjusting to life in Lagos, meeting new people, and experiencing a world that was vastly different from what she had known. During one of their rare phone conversations, Lawrence asked, "Patricia, are you okay? You've been distant." "I'm fine, Lawrence. Work has just been hectic," she replied curtly, eager to end the call. She had started mingling with affluent friends who introduced her to a lifestyle she never imagined possible. After completing her NYSC, Patricia landed a lucrative job at a private oil company in Abuja. It was a dream come true. With her new salary, she moved into a luxury apartment in Maitama, bought designer clothes, and started attending high-profile events. Patricia's social circle now included Abuja's elite, and her old life with Lawrence seemed like a distant memory. Lawrence, still working tirelessly at Market, noticed the change. Calls were rare, and when they did speak, Patricia sounded cold and dismissive. One evening, he decided to visit her new apartment unannounced. When she opened the door, she looked surprised and uncomfortable. "Lawrence, you should have called," she said, avoiding his gaze. "Patricia, what's going on?" "You've changed," he said, his voice filled with concern. "I've just been busy," she replied, brushing past him. "Let's not do this now." A week later, Lawrence confronted Patricia again. This time, she was more direct. "Lawrence, we need to talk," she began. "What is it, Patricia?" he asked, his heart pounding. "This relationship isn't working anymore. We're from different worlds now," she said bluntly. "Different worlds? Patricia, I sacrificed everything for you," Lawrence exclaimed. "And I'm grateful, but I can't keep pretending. The only way I can help you now is by offering you a job as a gateman at my company," she said, her tone devoid of emotion. Lawrence stared at her in disbelief. "A gateman? Is that what I mean to you now?" he asked, his voice breaking. "It's the best I can do," she replied, turning away. Shattered and humiliated, Lawrence walked away, vowing to rebuild his life on his own terms. Patricia fully embraced her new lifestyle, attending lavish parties, driving luxury cars, and rubbing shoulders with Abuja's big men. She quit her job at the oil company, deciding instead to live off the wealth of her affluent lovers. With their financial support, she opened a high-end fashion boutique, which quickly became one of the most talked-about brands in Abuja. Meanwhile, Lawrence struggled to find steady work. Eventually, desperation led him to accept the gateman position at Patricia's company. It was a humiliating step, but he needed the income to survive. Life as a gateman was grueling for Lawrence, but he carried on with quiet dignity. The other staff often ignored him, except for Joy, a cleaner at the company. Joy was different. Her cheerful disposition and kind words brought a glimmer of hope to Lawrence's dreary days. One evening, as Lawrence sat on a stool near the gate, Joy approached him with a big smile. "Lawrence, why are you always so quiet? You should talk to people more," she teased. "I don't have much to say," he replied, avoiding her gaze. "Well, maybe you'll find this interesting," she said, pulling out her phone. "I came across something online, a government grant for small businesses. They're looking to fund people with unique ideas." Lawrence looked skeptical. "Joy, I don't have a business, let alone an idea. I'm just a gateman." "Stop saying that," Joy said firmly. "You're smart, Lawrence. I've seen how you fix things around here and handle situations calmly. Maybe this is your chance to change your story." Joy's words lingered in Lawrence's mind long after she walked away. That night, he stayed up researching the grant. Slowly, a plan began to form, a plan that could turn his life around. For days, Lawrence mulled over Joy's suggestion. He couldn't shake the thought of submitting an application for the grant, but doubt clouded his mind. What kind of business could he propose? He had no resources, no formal training, just his tenacity and a willingness to work hard. One evening, Joy found him by the gate, deep in thought. "Lawrence, have you started working on your application yet?" she asked, handing him a packet of Acra wrapped in newspaper. "I don't even know where to begin," Lawrence admitted. Joy sat beside him on the concrete ledge, her hands resting on her knees. "Okay, let's start with something simple. What are you good at?" Lawrence thought for a moment. "I've always been good with my hands. Back at Was Market, I used to help stall owners fix things. I even built my own wheelbarrow from scraps." "That's a start," Joy said excitedly. "What if you propose a business offering repair services for market stalls and small shops? With the right tools and marketing, it could grow into something big." Her enthusiasm was infectious. For the first time in weeks, Lawrence felt a glimmer of hope. That night, he borrowed Joy's smartphone to research how to draft a proposal. He read articles, watched videos, and took notes late into the night. Within a week, Lawrence had a draft. Joy reviewed it with him during their lunch breaks, providing suggestions and encouragement. "This is solid," she said, her eyes lighting up. "You've got a real shot, Lawrence." With his application submitted, Lawrence waited anxiously. Each day felt like an eternity. But through it all, Joy's optimism kept him grounded. Then, 2 weeks later, Lawrence received an email. He had been shortlisted for an interview. As he read the message, his hands trembled with excitement and disbelief. "Joy," he whispered, holding up the phone. "I made it to the next stage." "See," Joy beamed. "I told you, Lawrence. This is just the beginning." The day of the interview arrived, and Lawrence could hardly contain his nerves. He had borrowed a neatly pressed shirt and trousers from one of his neighbors, ensuring he looked as professional as possible. His confidence, however, felt as flimsy as the soles of his worn-out shoes. Joy met him outside the company gate that morning, holding a steaming cup of tea. "Here," she said with a smile. "This will calm your nerves. You've got this, Lawrence." "Thanks, Joy," he replied, his voice tinged with uncertainty. The interview venue was in a corporate building downtown, a stark contrast to the dusty streets Lawrence was used to. As he stepped into the glass-walled office, he couldn't help but feel out of place. But he reminded himself of everything he had endured to get here. Inside, he was greeted by a panel of 3 judges seated behind a long table. Each had a stack of papers in front of them, and their expressions were unreadable. "Mr. Lawrence Okafor," one of them asked. "Yes, sir," Lawrence said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The first question came quickly. "Your proposal focuses on providing repair services for market vendors. What inspired this idea?" Lawrence took a deep breath. "For years, I worked in Was Market, pushing a wheelbarrow and helping traders. I saw firsthand how often they struggled with broken stalls and equipment, losing valuable time and income. I realized there was a gap that needed to be filled. My business would provide affordable and reliable solutions to keep their businesses running smoothly." The panelists exchanged glances, seemingly impressed by his answer. Another judge leaned forward. "How do you plan to sustain the business, given your limited resources?" "I plan to start small, focusing on one market at a time. With the grant, I can purchase the necessary tools and offer discounts to build trust and a client base. As the business grows, I'll expand to other markets in Abuja." The questions continued, each one testing Lawrence's resolve. By the end of the interview, he felt both drained and exhilarated. As he left the building, he called Joy. "It's done," he said. "Now we wait." "You did your best, Lawrence," Joy replied, her voice filled with pride. "I know this is going to work out for you." The following week was the longest of Lawrence's life. Each day, he checked his phone obsessively, hoping for an update on his application. At work, Joy continued to encourage him, reminding him that patience was key. Finally, on a cloudy Tuesday morning, an email arrived. With trembling hands, Lawrence opened it and read the first line. "Congratulations. You have been selected as one of the recipients of the grant." For a moment, he just stared at the screen, unable to believe his eyes. Joy was cleaning the company lobby when Lawrence burst through the door, waving the phone in the air. "I got it," he exclaimed, his voice cracking with emotion. Joy dropped her mop and hugged him tightly. "I knew it. Lawrence, this is your moment." The grant came with a generous sum, enough to purchase tools, rent a small workspace, and cover initial marketing expenses. Lawrence wasted no time. He quit his job as a gateman, much to Patricia's indifference, and dove headfirst into launching his business. Using his connections from his market, he spread the word about his new repair service. The response was overwhelming. Stall owners who had once known him as a wheelbarrow pusher now lined up for his help. With each successful repair, Lawrence's reputation grew. His efficiency, affordability, and personable nature set him apart. Within months, he expanded his services to include neighboring markets, hiring a small team to keep up with demand. Meanwhile, Patricia's fashion empire continued to thrive. She had no idea Lawrence's small business was making waves in the same city. One evening, as Lawrence locked up his workshop, Joy stopped by with a small gift. "You've done so well, Lawrence. I'm so proud of you." Lawrence smiled, the weight of his struggles finally lifting. "I couldn't have done it without you, Joy. You believed in me when no one else did." What neither of them knew was that their paths would soon cross with Patricia's again, in a way no one could have anticipated. Months passed, and Lawrence's repair business flourished. He named it Fix-It Pro Services, and it became a household name among market vendors and small business owners in Abuja. With his growing income, he moved into a modest but comfortable apartment and began thinking about expanding his business into other cities. One fateful evening, Joy invited Lawrence to a business networking event hosted by a prominent entrepreneur in Abuja. "You need to meet people who can help you scale up," she said, adjusting her simple yet elegant dress. "I'm not sure I belong there, Joy," Lawrence replied, tugging nervously at his tie. "Stop it. You're a businessman now, and this is your chance to grow," she insisted, leading him into the grand hall of a luxury hotel. The event was filled with Abuja's elite, successful entrepreneurs, politicians, and celebrities. Lawrence felt out of place until Joy introduced him to a few people who seemed genuinely interested in his story. As the night progressed, a voice over the microphone announced the arrival of the event's guest of honor, Patricia. Lawrence froze as he saw her walk in, dazzling in a designer gown, her confidence commanding the room. She was introduced as the founder of one of Abuja's leading fashion brands, Elegance Couture. Cameras flashed as Patricia waved and smiled, basking in the attention. Joy noticed Lawrence's reaction and whispered, "Do you know her?" "Yes," Lawrence replied quietly, his jaw tightening. "I know her." Patricia made her rounds, mingling with influential guests, oblivious to Lawrence's presence. When she finally walked past him, she didn't recognize him at first. But as their eyes met, her smile faltered. "Lawrence," she said, disbelief in her voice. "Yes, Patricia. It's me," he replied calmly, extending a hand. She hesitated before shaking it, her composure slipping. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here as a businessman," Lawrence said, his tone measured. "I own a repair service company now." Patricia forced a smile, but her discomfort was evident. "That's great. I'm glad to see you're doing well." "Likewise," Lawrence said, his gaze unwavering. As Patricia moved on to greet others, Joy leaned in and whispered, "Well, that was interesting." "Very," Lawrence replied, a faint smile playing on his lips. The encounter left Patricia rattled. She couldn't shake the image of Lawrence standing tall and confident, a far cry from the man she had once dismissed. Little did she know, their paths were about to intertwine in ways she couldn't imagine. The networking event ended, but Patricia couldn't get Lawrence out of her mind. She sat in her luxurious penthouse later that night, swirling a glass of wine as she stared at the city lights of Abuja. "How did he manage to climb out of the hole I left him in?" she murmured to herself, her thoughts a mix of curiosity and unease. Patricia's life had become a whirlwind of luxury and superficial relationships. Her boutique, Elegance Couture, was thriving, but her personal life felt hollow. She had everything she thought she wanted: money, status, and influence. But Lawrence's confident demeanor at the event stirred something she couldn't place: regret or fear. Meanwhile, Lawrence couldn't help but reflect on their brief interaction. Joy noticed his silence as they drove back home. "You okay?" she asked, glancing at him. "I'm fine. Just seeing Patricia again brought back some memories," he admitted. "Good ones or bad ones?" Joy asked carefully. "A bit of both. But I'm not the same person she left behind," Lawrence said firmly. The following week, Lawrence threw himself into his business. He launched a new branch in Guarimpa and secured a deal to provide repair services for a chain of supermarkets. His name was spreading, and so was his confidence. Unbeknownst to him, Patricia had started digging into his newfound success. She called a mutual acquaintance who attended the networking event. "Do you know much about Lawrence's company?" she asked casually. "Fix It Pro Services? It's growing fast. He's getting contracts everywhere." "Why do you ask?" Patricia feigned disinterest. "Oh, no reason. Just curious." The news unsettled her further. How had Lawrence, a man she had relegated to the role of a gateman, risen so far? Her unease turned into action when she asked one of her assistants, Rita, to arrange a meeting with Lawrence. "Tell him it's about a potential business partnership," she instructed. When Rita relayed the message, Lawrence was intrigued but cautious. Why would Patricia want to partner with him now? "Should I go?" he asked Joy later that evening. "Go, but don't let her intimidate you," Joy advised. The stage was set for a meeting that would shift the balance of power between them once more. Thank you for watching. Kindly share your thoughts about this story in the comment section while waiting for part 2. Remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.